Your child's brain is growing right now, not slowly, not gradually. Right this second, as you're watching this video, their brain is forming 1 million neural connections every single second. 1 million. Let that sink in. Every interaction, every word you speak, every moment of connection or disconnection is literally shaping the architecture of their mind. And here's what most parents don't realize. You don't need expensive programs, fancy toys, or specialized tools to optimize that growth. You need 5 tiny habits. Habits so simple you'll wonder why no one told you sooner. But these habits, when done consistently, are more powerful than any educational app or enrichment class money can buy. I'm going to walk you through exactly what these 5 habits are, why they work according to neuroscience, and how you can start using them today. Because the truth is, the most important brain building happens in the mundane moments of everyday life. In the way you respond when your child babbles at you, in the bedtime routine you keep or skip, in whether you let them struggle with their shoes or do it for them. These micro moments accumulate, and over time, they determine whether your child develops strong language skills, emotional regulation, problem-solving abilities, memory, and confidence, or whether those capacities remain underdeveloped. Before we dive in, I need to be clear about something. This is not about being a perfect parent. This is not about adding more to your already overwhelming to-do list. This is about being intentional with the moments you're already spending with your child. Small shifts in how you engage can create massive differences in outcomes. You're not doing more, you're doing different. And different, in this case, is what science says actually works. So let's start with the foundation. Between birth and age 3, your child's brain is in hyperdrive. Neural pathways are forming at a rate that will never be matched again in their lifetime. By age 3, a child's brain is 80% of its adult size. 80%. Everything that happens during these years sets the stage for learning, behavior, emotional health, and even physical health later in life. But even beyond age 3, the brain remains incredibly plastic, meaning it's still highly responsive to experience. The habits I'm about to share work across childhood, from infancy through the school-age years. The first habit is something called serve and return. And if you only take one thing from this video, let it be this. Serve and return is the single most powerful way to build your child's brain. And it costs absolutely nothing. Here's how it works. Your child serves. They make a sound, a gesture, a facial expression, anything that's reaching out for connection. And you return. You respond with eye contact, words, a smile, a touch. Back and forth. Serve and return. This is how the brain learns communication, emotional regulation, and trust. When a baby coos and you coo back, their brain is learning, my signals matter. When a toddler points at a dog and you say, yes, that's a dog, dogs say woof, their brain is learning language, cause and effect, and that they are seen. Every time you respond, you strengthen the neural circuits responsible for communication and emotional security. And every time you don't respond, those circuits weaken. I'm not saying you need to respond to every single sound. That's not realistic. But the pattern matters. Consistent, warm, responsive interactions build strong brains. Inconsistent or absent responses do the opposite. So before we go any further, I need you to do something. If this is already making sense, if you're realizing that brain development isn't about fancy classes, but about how you show up in the small moments, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me which habit you're most excited to try, and subscribe to the Parenting Blueprint. And here's something special. We have a channel membership with 2 exclusive levels that give you early access to videos, bonus deep dives into topics like this, and a community of parents who are committed to raising kids with strong, healthy brains. If you want that extra layer of support and insider content, check out the membership link below. Now let's keep going. Habit number 2 is reading 1 picture book a day. Just 1. It takes 5 to 10 minutes and the impact on your child's brain is staggering. Reading to your child is one of the most researched and consistently proven ways to build language, vocabulary, attention span, and imagination. And it doesn't matter if your child is 6 months old or 6 years old. The benefits are real at every stage. Here's what happens in the brain during shared reading. When you read aloud, your child's auditory cortex is processing the sounds of language. Their visual cortex is taking in the pictures. Their memory systems are encoding new words and story structures. And if you're doing it right, pointing at pictures, asking questions, letting them turn the pages, you're also building their executive function, the brain's ability to focus, plan, and control impulses. But here's the key. It's not just about the words on the page. It's about the interaction. When you read with expression, when you pause and ask, "What do you think will happen next?" Or, "Can you find the cat on this page?" You're turning a passive activity into an active brain-building experience. You're doing serve and return while reading. You're teaching your child that books are not just objects. They're doorways to conversation, curiosity, and connection. And the research backs this up. Children who are read to regularly from infancy enter school with larger vocabularies, better comprehension skills, and stronger pre-literacy skills than children who aren't. They also tend to have longer attention spans because their brains have practiced focusing during story time. This isn't about pushing academics early. This is about giving your child's brain the raw material it needs to develop language and thinking skills naturally. Now, some parents say, "But my child won't sit still for a book." That's okay. Especially with younger toddlers, attention spans are short. Start with board books. Let them hold the book. Let them turn the pages even if you don't finish the story. The goal is not to get through the book perfectly. The goal is to make reading a warm, connected, enjoyable experience. Over time, as their brain matures, their ability to sit and focus will grow. But that growth only happens if you keep showing up with the book. Habit number 3 is a consistent sleep routine. And I know, sleep is one of the hardest parts of parenting. But if I could give you one piece of advice that affects literally every area of your child's development, it would be this: protect their sleep. Sleep is when the brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, and clears out metabolic waste. Without adequate, quality sleep, everything else suffers. Learning, behavior, mood, immune function, growth, everything. Children who don't get enough sleep or whose sleep is chaotic and inconsistent show higher rates of attention problems, emotional dysregulation, behavioral issues, and even academic struggles later on. And it's not because they're bad kids. It's because their brains are running on empty. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-control, focus, and decision-making, is incredibly sensitive to sleep deprivation. When a child is underslept, that part of the brain goes offline first. Suddenly, they can't focus, they're impulsive, they're emotional. And parents think, "What's wrong with my child?" when really, the problem is sleep. So what does a consistent sleep routine look like? It's not complicated. Same bedtime, same wake time, every day, even on weekends. A predictable sequence of calming activities before bed. Bath, pajamas, story, song, lights out. The predictability is key because it cues the brain that sleep is coming. The body starts producing melatonin. The nervous system begins to calm. And over time, falling asleep becomes easier because the brain recognizes the pattern. You don't need elaborate routines. You just need consistency. And yes, there will be nights when it doesn't go perfectly. That's life. But the overall pattern is what matters. A child who goes to bed at a consistent time, in a calm environment, with a predictable routine, will sleep better, wake more rested, and show better emotional regulation, focus, and learning during the day. Sleep is non-negotiable if you want to support healthy brain development. Habit number 4 might surprise you because it goes against every instinct you have as a loving parent. The habit is this: let them struggle a little. Not with big, overwhelming challenges, not with things that are genuinely beyond their ability, but with small, manageable frustrations that are just at the edge of what they can handle. Because struggle is how the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of the brain, gets stronger. Here's what I mean. Your toddler is trying to put on their shoes and they're getting frustrated. Your instinct is to step in and do it for them. But when you do, you rob them of the opportunity to develop persistence, problem solving, and the belief that they can figure things out. Your preschooler is working on a puzzle, and they can't get a piece to fit. They start to whine. Again, your instinct is to help. But if you wait, if you sit nearby and say calmly, "Keep trying. You're so close," their brain is doing something remarkable. It's learning to tolerate frustration. It's practicing focus. It's building the neural pathways that say, "I can handle hard things." This doesn't mean you abandon your child to struggle alone. It means you support without rescuing. You stay emotionally present. You encourage. You offer a small hint if needed, but you don't take over. Because every time you solve the problem for them, you send the message, "You can't do this. You need me." And over time, that message becomes their internal belief. But when you hold back, when you let them work through it and eventually succeed, you send a different message. You are capable. You can figure things out. And that belief becomes confidence. The research is clear. Children who are given opportunities to struggle and overcome challenges develop what psychologists call a growth mindset. They believe that effort leads to improvement. They don't give up easily. They see mistakes as learning opportunities, not failures. And this mindset predicts success in school, relationships, and life far more than IQ or natural talent ever could. So, the next time your child is struggling with something small, take a breath, resist the urge to fix it, and give them the gift of figuring it out themselves. Habit number 5 is letting them help with simple tasks. This one is incredibly underrated, but the science behind it is powerful. When children participate in real, meaningful work, like helping set the table, folding laundry, putting groceries away, or stirring batter, they're not just being cute. They're building executive function. They're learning to follow multi-step directions, to focus on a task, to coordinate their body and their mind, to feel competent and needed. All of this strengthens the brain in ways that toys and screens simply cannot. In cultures around the world where children are expected to contribute to household tasks from a young age, researchers have found that those children show higher levels of responsibility, cooperation, and self-regulation. They don't need to be reminded or nagged as much. They take initiative. They understand that they are part of a family system and their contribution matters. This sense of belonging and competence is one of the most protective factors for mental health and resilience. But in many modern families, we've removed children from meaningful participation. We think we're helping them by doing everything for them, by letting them just be kids. But what we're actually doing is depriving them of the very experiences that build capable, confident brains. When a 4-year-old helps you make a sandwich, they're learning sequencing, fine motor skills, cause and effect, and the pride of contributing. When a 7-year-old helps you sort laundry, they're practicing categorization, attention to detail, and responsibility. These are not chores. These are brain-building activities disguised as everyday life. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need extra time for this. You're already doing these tasks. You're already setting the table, folding laundry, cooking meals. The only difference is inviting your child to do it with you. Yes, it will take longer at first. Yes, it will be messier. But the long-term payoff is a child whose brain is wired for competence, not helplessness. So starting today, pick one small task your child can help with. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be efficient. It just has to be real. Let them pour their own cereal. Let them put their dirty clothes in the hamper. Let them wipe the table after dinner. Each of these moments is a neural workout, and over time, those workouts add up to a strong, capable brain. Now let's talk about why these 5 habits work together and why they're more powerful than any expensive program or toy you could buy. Because when you step back and look at the science, what becomes clear is that the brain doesn't grow in isolation. It grows through relationships, through real-world experiences, through being seen, heard, challenged, and trusted. And every single one of these habits delivers exactly that. Serve and Return builds the foundation of communication and emotional security. It tells your child's brain, you matter. Your signals are important. The world is responsive to you. That sense of security allows the brain to relax and focus on learning instead of constantly scanning for threat or rejection. Secure children learn better, explore more, and develop healthier relationships throughout life. Reading together builds language and imagination, yes, but it also deepens connection. When you sit with your child and enter a story together, you're sharing an experience. You're co-regulating. Your calm presence helps their nervous system stay regulated, which makes learning possible. And the vocabulary they gain, the sentence structures they absorb, the narrative arcs they internalize, all of this becomes the scaffolding for thinking, reasoning, and expressing themselves later on. Consistent sleep routines protect the brain's ability to consolidate everything it learned during the day. Without sleep, memories don't stick, emotions don't get processed. The brain doesn't have time to prune unnecessary connections and strengthen the important ones. Sleep is not a luxury. It's a biological necessity. And when you prioritize it, you're giving your child's brain the recovery time it desperately needs to grow. Letting them struggle builds resilience and problem solving. It teaches the brain that discomfort is temporary and that effort leads to success. This is the foundation of grit, of persistence, of the belief that I can do hard things. And children who believe that become adults who don't crumble under pressure. They adapt, they try again, they trust themselves. And letting them help with real tasks builds competence and belonging. It integrates them into the family system as a contributor, not just a consumer. It teaches them that work has meaning, that their effort matters, and that they are capable. These lessons don't come from praise or participation trophies. They come from genuine responsibility and the pride of doing something real. When you combine all 5 of these habits, you're creating an environment where the brain can thrive. You're not forcing development. You're not pushing academics too early. You're simply providing the conditions, connection, language, rest, challenge, and contribution that the brain needs to build itself optimally. And the best part? None of this requires money. None of it requires extra time that you don't already have. It just requires intentionality in the moments you're already living. Let me give you a real-life example. Imagine a typical evening in your home. Your toddler is trying to take off their socks and getting frustrated. Instead of rushing over and doing it for them, you pause. You say, "You're working so hard. Keep trying." That's habit 4, letting them struggle. They finally get the sock off and look at you with pride. You smile and say, "You did it. You figured it out." That's serve and return, habit 1. Then you move to the kitchen, and they want to help you make dinner. You let them pour the rice into the pot, even though some spills. That's habit 5, letting them help. After dinner, you follow your bedtime routine. Bath, pajamas, 1 picture book. That's habits 3 and 2. Consistent sleep routine and daily reading. In one evening, you've hit all 5 habits. No extra time, no special tools, just intentional parenting in the ordinary rhythms of life. This is what brain building actually looks like. It's not flashy, it's not Instagrammable, but it's powerful. And over weeks, months, and years, these small moments compound into a child who is emotionally secure, linguistically skilled, well-rested, resilient, and confident. That's the kind of foundation that lasts a lifetime. And here's something most parents don't realize. The effects of these habits are cumulative, but they're also protective. Children who experience consistent, responsive caregiving, who are read to, who sleep well, who are allowed to struggle safely, and who contribute meaningfully, these children are buffered against stress, trauma, and adversity. Their brains are more resilient. They recover faster. They adapt better. You're not just building skills. You're building a brain that can handle life. So let's bring this all together with the most important takeaway. Your child's brain is being built right now, in this moment, and in every moment that follows. And the architect of that brain is not a teacher, not a program, not a toy. It's you. It's the way you respond when they reach for you. It's the book you read at bedtime. It's the sleep routine you protect. It's the moment you resist the urge to fix and instead let them figure it out. It's the invitation to help, to contribute, to be part of something real. These 5 habits are not complicated, but they are powerful. And the reason they work is because they align with how the brain actually develops. The brain grows through interaction, through language, through rest, through challenge, and through meaningful participation in the world. When you provide those things consistently, you're giving your child's brain exactly what it needs to wire itself for success. And I want to be really clear about something. This is not about being a perfect parent. You will have days where you're too tired to read, where bedtime is chaotic, where you do their shoes for them because you're running late. That's okay. Parenting is not about perfection. It's about patterns. It's the overall trend that matters. If most days you're doing serve and return, if most nights you're reading together, if your sleep routine is generally consistent, if you're letting them struggle more often than you're rescuing, if you're inviting them to help when you can, you're doing enough. You're doing more than enough. But if you've realized while watching this that you've been outsourcing brain development to screens, to toys, to programs, and not enough to real connection and real experiences, that's okay too. Awareness is the first step, and now that you know, you can start making different choices. You can put the phone down during dinner and do serve and return. You can commit to one book a night. You can tighten up the bedtime routine. You can pause before jumping in to help. You can hand your child a spoon and let them stir. Small changes, big impact. Here's what I want you to do starting today. Pick one of these 5 habits and commit to it for the next week. Just one. Don't try to overhaul your entire parenting approach overnight. That's overwhelming and unsustainable. Instead, choose the habit that feels most doable or most needed in your home right now. Maybe it's reading one book every night. Maybe it's protecting bedtime. Maybe it's letting your child help with one task each day. Whatever it is, focus on that one thing and watch what happens. Watch how your child responds. Watch how the relationship deepens. Watch how their confidence, their language, their behavior, their sleep begins to shift. And then, once that habit feels natural, add another one. Build slowly, build sustainably. Because this is not a sprint, this is the long game. You're not raising a child for today, you're raising a human for life. And the habits you instill now will shape who they become decades from now. Before we wrap up, I need to ask you something. If this video gave you a new perspective, if it helped you see that brain development isn't about doing more, but about doing different, I need you to hit that like button right now. Subscribe to the Parenting Blueprint if you haven't already, because we're here to give you science-backed, practical strategies that actually work. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 5 habits you're committing to this week. I read every comment, and your commitment might inspire another parent to take action too. And if you want to go even deeper, join our channel membership for exclusive content, early video access, and a community of parents who are serious about raising kids with strong, healthy brains. Remember, your child's brain is forming 1 million connections every second. 1 million. You don't need to do anything extraordinary. You just need to show up in the ordinary moments with intention. Respond when they reach for you. Read to them daily. Protect their sleep. Let them struggle a little. Let them help. These 5 tiny habits will supercharge your child's brain development in ways that no expensive program ever could. You've got this. You're already doing so much right. Now you just have the knowledge to be even more intentional with the moments that matter most. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.